This video is sponsored by the Epic VFX Academy. If you want to learn how to create epic VFX from A to Z, definitely check out the link in the description below to put yourself on the waitlist. Hey, what's up ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ignace Aleya, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to turn a day scene into a night scene using Adobe After Effects. So we've already covered this effect in the past, but it's such a great effect to use a ton of times that I wanted to do this video again and show you a little bit more details, and also to have one in a more regular version of Adobe After Effects. Alright, so here's my shot that I want to turn into a night scene. As you can see, there is no harsh sunlight on the ground that really casts these hard shadows, which would in the end really mess up the effect. So I really waited for a moment when the clouds were covering the sun, so I have soft shadows, and that will just make it easier to do anything I want with this shot. The first thing that I always do is create a new adjustment layer, and this is going to be my grade to night. And so on this adjustment layer, I always add curves. If you don't know what this is Effects Console. It's the exact same thing as searching your effects right here, but it's just a faster way of applying them. So if you see me using that, well, I just apply the curves to the adjustment layer. And the first thing that I always like to do is bring down the highlights, because in the night, yeah, everything's dark. So we'll have to bring down the highlights. If you want to learn how to create epic VFX from A to Z, definitely check out the link in the description below to put yourself on the waitlist. Whether you are a beginner or already have experience, this is definitely an academy where you will find a lot of benefit, whether being helped in our Discord community server, or getting feedback on your work on getting better, or just for these final little details that you need to apply in your work to finally get that A-grade look in your final results. And honestly, visual effects is an up and coming career choice because of the metaverse and everything shifting into the digital. There are a lot of new and great opportunities for visual effects artists. So if you want to learn After Effects from A to Z and also want to learn how to create epic looking visual effects, then literally everything related to VFX, you can find it in the Epic VFX Academy. Put yourself on the waitlist. So then I also bring a little bit of this curve down so it has a little bit more contrast, and now we're starting to see something like that. And then I also like to add a tint effect to this and add a color blue to this tint on the white. So pick a color that you like, something like that, and now we already have a kind of day to night scene. You can also lower the amount to tint so it's a little bit less obvious, so you still have the original colors leaking through a little bit, something like that, and now you're getting a pretty solid result. The only thing that I also like to do sometimes is to really darken my sky even more, or isolate my sky, maybe change it up, change the sky to a darker, more stormy looking sky. So sky replacement is something that you need to do all of the time as well. So what I like to do here is just duplicate my original footage and bring it on top, and then I'm going for a layer and I'm going pre-compose this, and I'm just going to move all the attributes into that new composition. This, I'm going to rename this to Luma Matte. So we're going to create a matte of Luma, which we can then redirect to just isolate the sky. The only problem here is that we have hair, we have the leaves of the trees. So to really get and sell this effect, it's a little bit tricky. So we're going to open up the Luma Matte composition. And what I would like to do here is I'm going to close and lock this composition here on the side. And I'm also going to open up the Ghostwriter footage so I can also see that right here. And I'm going to bring that over here. So now we have the Ghostwriter composition on the left, and on the right we have the Luma Matte composition open. So if we jump into the Luma Matte, we can now go and add an adjustment layer. And we can add a tint effect, or we can add a colorama, which I prefer to use, colorama. And then I go into the output cycle and I use the preset palette to ramp gray. So that turns my image into a black and white. If you don't want to see it in the Ghostwriter footage, you can just uncheck the Luma Matte, because we don't need to see it. We just need the information that we create. And so now we see a black and white representation and we see our final result. If you really want to see what this Luma Matte is doing, we need to do something else. So we're going for adjustment, and we're going to bring that below the Luma Matte in our Ghostwriter footage. And this is going to be the sky. And now what I want to do is track matte this to Luma matte. To Luma. If you don't see that, you can toggle the switches right over here. And so now you're using this map to have this adjustment layer do anything. But at this moment, we don't have any effects applied to the sky. So we need to do the same thing. We're going to add another curves to this. And what I essentially want to do is even darken, darken the sky even more, but just the sky and not the rest. And so you can still see some highlights of the clouds or something. Yeah, I'm just going to play around a little bit there and see what I can work with. But by darkening the sky, it's going to look even better in the end. So we need to revert back to our Luma matte, and here on the adjustment layer for the colorama, we can do a few things to really make this a lot more dense. In the end, what do we want? We want the sky to be white and everything else to be black. So let's start doing that. We're going to add a dark point here and a white point here. And then if we bring these towards each other, we're going to start seeing cutoff on everything. So the more you add contrast, the more you will start seeing problems here occurring on the edges of our leaves and of our hair. So we don't want that to happen. We need to find like a sweet spot where that doesn't happen just yet. So right here, it's pretty soft on the edges. So it's looking pretty good. Until you have something like that. Okay. And so then I'm going to create another solid layer and I'm going to click OK, make this black, and also uncheck it so we don't see it. And essentially what you could do now is rotoscope a little bit around the stuff that you think should not be visible, such as these houses. You can create a mask and then animate that mask for the entire duration of your animation. So my idea is to create it pretty rough. Somewhat like that. And then close it down. And then add a little bit of feather here, enable it again, press M on the keyboard and create a stopwatch for the mask path, and then go all the way till the end, and then just like, yeah, adjust it wherever you think it needs to be adjusted. But I'm not going too much into detail for the animation of the mask because that's just taking time. So another thing that I like to do is now cover up my face. So to do that, I'm going to click on my footage and add Mocha AE to this. And with Mocha AE, I'm going to the beginning of my timeline and open up the Mocha AE tool. And now right here, what I want to do is take my X-Spline tool and just draw around my face, because my face is a highlight. So we want to create a mask. You could also do this with the Roto Brush tool, but I found that then you had to make sure that you don't take the hair with it, because I want the hair to come from the Luma technique and just the face with the rotoscope. So you can do this in any technique that you want, either Mocha, either the Roto Brush 2.0 in After Effects. So let's play it forward now. And we can see that Mocha does a very great job at tracking everything here. So rotoscoping it's a breeze using Mocha AE. And whenever you see that it's slipping, make sure that you go in here and adjust it. Again, you can do this as perfect as you want. I took my time to do this in the example, but again, for this tutorial, I'm not going to bother too much into showing you how to do simple stuff. So let's say you've done the entire track and you went through these entirely. You can click and save this. And now you can click on matte and then you can create AE masks. And so I'm going to press M on the keyboard to reveal that mask, and I'm going to hold Ctrl and press X to cut it. And then I'm just going to paste it on that black solid as well. So you can now see that my face is now back into the scene by adding that mask. And yeah, we can also see it's animated because we use Mocha to do that. So now we're getting a pretty solid result here. The only problem that I think we could still clean up a little bit more is the trees here. So that's going to be playing around a little bit more again with this black point. So maybe we want to remove a little bit of the black, and like that you can soften up the transition here, but it makes it look a lot better. And so now we can close the Luma and we can see we have a pretty nice key here and we have a nice day to night scene. So one more thing that I like to do here in the Ghostwriter footage is double check my sky and maybe make it even darker. So now we have total control on what we want to do. And there we go. And so one last thing that I've done here is, well, we can see that I have some issues here in the Luma. That's because I didn't do that mask completely, but you get the idea. One more thing that I've done is also used Mocha AE on my original footage once more. So I'm going to create, well, duplicate my original footage, and I'm going to call this light. And then I'm going to open up Mocha AE again, make sure that I'm at the beginning of my timeline, and click on the logo for Mocha. And so in Mocha again, I'm going to click on my X-Spline tool. And this time I'm actually going to move and scrub a little bit more towards the end of my clip and take my X-Spline tool and click just like so. And then right click to deselect, Control A to select everything, and then push them inward so I get a circle. And so now I can take each point and push it out a little bit further to cover up the light. And so what I can do now is track backwards, and it's going to track the entire light. It's going to be very easy to do that, and then I can isolate that light to get it back to illuminate on top of the night scene, because now it was also being compressed and you couldn't see the light. But in reality, you would see the light in a night scene. So, okay, so now we can close Mocha AE. And we can see wherever we have the light. If we bring this back on top now, and we go into the matte and apply the matte with a feather of something like 4, we now have our light back into our scene. And so that immediately makes it look like, well, it's more realistic. So yeah, let's forget about this part. It really bothers me actually. So let's take a quick look here. So you can see if I would have animated this mask in the right position, that you wouldn't get this problem here. So yeah. So if now I would just go and create a new adjustment layer and add perfect glow to this layer, we will see that we get some nice glows here on the light. And we can also go to this light and add a curves if you would like, and add a little bit more of the red tones and take a little bit of the blues. And maybe you also want to play with the contrast a little bit. And like that, you can completely modify how something would look. And yeah, add glow, don't add glow. That's gonna be completely up to you. But in the end, you can get some really interesting results this way. If you see where we're coming from and what we have in the end, it looks so much cooler. And this is actually going to be a starting point for a next tutorial where I'm going to show you how to become the ghostwriter in Adobe After Effects. That's gonna be really cool. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give this video a like. Also be sure to subscribe to the channel for more and hit the notification bell to stay notified when I upload new videos. Apart from that, I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, create epic videos.